And there we are again, guys, another PvP build, my Ridgeway Sprite crit build. And this build, man, is just a monster. Are you ready? Let's go! What up, YouTube? Welcome to another Division 2 video. Thanks for clicking on my content, really appreciate you joining me. If you like my content and want to help the channel out, don't forget to smash that like button. And today I'm gonna show you my Ridgeway Sprite crit build. I'm gonna do it a little bit different than usual. I'm gonna show you a few clips, just shut up, and then after that show you the build. So let's dive into a few clips, shall we? Enjoy! And there we are again, guys. This is my Ridgeway Sprite crit build and it is a lot of fun. Y'all know that the Ridgeway is a very powerful chest. And of course I chose for my flamethrower as a specialization because then we can choose this shield, the striker shield. And it's not only giving you another life because this shield has 3.4 million HP, but again this gives you another 11% damage boost per enemy. So if 2 enemies are in front of you, you will get 22% extra bonus damage, and that is a lot, guys. That is a lot, and that's why I'm just using this specialization and the shield, because the shield is just the best way to go for PvP. Next to that I chose for my Stinger Hive. Of course this will do some damage and applies a bleed status. Just like my Ridgeway Sprite Vest, this will apply bleed and will help proc my talents. Of course on my secondary gun or of course on my backpack. But let's switch over to the guns. I'm of course using the Lady Death with the breathe free, running around and amplifying our damage by 60%, because if we switch over to PvP stats, because this is a PvP build, it will go back to amplified damage of 60%. Next to that I'm running around with the sick MPX with Sadist on there. And of course God rolled with damage to targets out of cover on there. Why Sadist? Because we are using the Ridgeway Sprite. Every time we shoot somebody within 10 meters, he will have a bleed status effect, and our status will kick in, and the MPX will deal another 20% extra damage to, of course, that bleeding enemy. Then over to my backup boomstick, yeah, just using it because I have to, never use it, almost never, maybe sometimes to kill somebody off and get some preservation going to get a little bit more armor, but most of the time I'm only running around with or my Lady Death or of course the MPX. Let's head over to my build. I went for 2 pieces of Sokolov, of course the Ridgeway Sprite, 2 improvised pieces of gear and the GOOO. Why the improvised pieces of gear? Because we can add a mod on there. As you can see, I rolled the armor to that max cap, went for 11.1% critical hit damage on there. Skill haste could be something different, for example some hazard protection or armor generation, whatever you think is necessary, but make sure to push your build to that 60% critical hit chance first, or close to it. That's the most important part. If you reach that, then you can choose for whatever you think is necessary as the attribute next to critical hit damage. Then the same for my knee pads. I got weapon handling on there, a little lower on 9.9% critical hit damage, and of course roll that max cap of armor on there. Then over to my GOOO holster. Of course again went for armor, 5% critical hit chance and 10.7% critical hit damage. Why the GOOO? Because this brand set will give us an extra 15% critical hit damage as well. Over to the Sokolov. Why Sokolov? We are running around with an SMG. This will give us some SMG damage, and the secondary will give us some critical hit damage. Still running around with 1.5 million armor, but we want to do as much as damage as possible, of course. That's why I chose for the critical hit chance and the critical hit damage again, and the critical hit damage as a mod. Backpack, I went for this beautiful god roll. 15% weapon damage, 6% critical hit chance, 10% headshot damage and 12% critical hit damage as a mod on there. I would love to see that headshot damage replaced for some critical hit damage, but look at this backpack, guys. This gave me the chance to roll Wicked on there, and of course we need Wicked because we are applying bleed on the enemy with the Ridgeway Sprite or after 4 kills with my sick MPX. But of course we're doing it for the Ridgeway Sprite. And when people are bleeding, when your enemy is bleeding, Wicked will kick in, and that will increase your total weapon damage by 18% for 20 seconds. And then of course to the vest, that's all about the freaking Ridgeway Sprite. Again, I got it, god rolled, freaking unbelievable. I love this chest. 15% weapon, critical hit chance and critical hit damage maxed out, and then of course the maxed out mod of critical hit damage. And why the Ridgeway Sprite, and why is this so powerful? Because bleeding edge. Shooting enemies within 15 meters applies a bleed to the target. So this is why this is so freaking powerful. You do not have to take somebody out, you will still shoot bleed bullets all the time. And then if you hit an enemy, and it doesn't even matter if you crit that enemy, they will always be bleeding, then the Wicked will kick in and will do a lot of damage with it. And of course, if you're rocking that MPX next to it, Sadist will kick in again and you will get a lot more extra damage. If you are using these two, the combination, you will get a 38% extra weapon damage up on an enemy who is bleeding. And that's why this Ridgeway Pride is so freaking powerful. And then of course next to that, repair 3 to 48% of your own armor per second for every enemy that is bleeding within 15 meters. And then the repair strengths per number of bleeding enemies is 1 enemy 3%, 2 enemies 6, 3 12, 4 enemies 24, and the last 5 enemies 48% of your armor back per second. But yeah, it isn't working that good for me, to be honest with you. But I'm only doing it for the top of the bleeding edge, getting that enemy bleeding, so my MPX will proc, my Wicked will proc, and then of course my Lady Death will do a lot of damage as well, because it will still be 60% amplified. We're shooting bleeding bullets, so the proc of Wicked will always be there. But yeah guys, this is pretty much the setup of my build. And let's jump over to the stats real quick. 60% critical hit chance, capped out. And then of course 191.6% critical hit damage. Could be a lot higher, but of course I'm missing that critical hit damage on my backpack. And yeah, the improvised gear could be better, or the 10.9% critical hit damage mod are 2.1% higher, so I can push this build to around 210% critical hit damage if I really max it, and this is quite powerful. Then over to my defense, of course the 1.47 million armor, that's why it says 1.5 million, and then the rest isn't that interesting. We are not stacking into that, and there is another version of this build coming. I need to min-max it a little bit better, because yesterday I had a conversation with one of my subscribers and he told me a little bit higher numbers than I have at this moment. I wanted to drop that build today, but I might need a few days more. But for today guys, let me know what you think about this build, what you change about this build, and are you running around with the Ridgeway Sprite as well, because this is so freaking powerful within PvP. Let me know in the comments down below, but for today, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to smash that like button and hit that subscribers button. And of course the notification bell. PurePrime out!